Hey, Common Grounders, it's Ryan here. We know that over the last week, the president announced that churches are seen as essential and once again allowed to gather in groups of up to 50, albeit that with many restrictions, right? And we can imagine that most of you are very keen to know what we as a leadership team are thinking around how we best approach this. Well, after prayer and consultation with all of the eldership teams across the city, and some of our congregants, we believe that there's still real wisdom and kindness in us continuing to meet online on Sundays for the months of June, July, and August, after which we'll reassess the situation. We didn't feel like it was going to be wise for us to kind of every few weeks be reassessing and redeciding. Now, we know that this decision is likely to be met with mixed emotions by many. And all of us are obviously really saddened by the fact that we're not able to gather face to face like we love to do. And this has been a super difficult call because it's already been a long time. And we know not being with you, which is so important for us as a community, is really hard as the family of God. Now, obviously, we would have loved for all of this to be over already, but unfortunately, we just have to recognize that we're not there yet. So let me take a moment to explain 5 different reasons why we believe that this is both wise and kind, right and good for us to do at this time. They're not in a perfect order or any order of priority. These are just the 5 collective reasons that have led to our decision. And the first one is this, because even though we recognize that the government has had to allow places of worship to open for constitutional reasons based on South Africa's freedom of religion legislation, we don't really believe that it is the desire of our government for people to start meeting in large groups at this time. We know that doing so has the real likelihood of undermining the desired outcomes of the lockdown, which is sought to slow the rapid kind of rate of infections. So we want to exercise our rights by continuing to meet online for now. As my pastor friend Greg Heasley says, he says, we're happy to be late to this party rather than maybe ruining the party altogether. A second reason is that as Cape Townians, we recognize that we are right here in the heart of the South African pandemic. And in chatting with some city officials and provincial medical staff, we believe that the peak of the pandemic curve in the city of Cape Town will be reached somewhere in late July. So we feel it's wise not to gather till we are at least on the other side of that main peak season in our city, which will then give us the opportunity to reassess where things are at in August. A third reason, and a big one for us, is that we want to promote the unity of our church at this time. See, continuing to gather online allows us to do so, remembering that half of our congregations don't have their own buildings to go back to. And so having some congregations back and others not, and in the larger congregations, some people back and others not, doesn't feel like the right move for us, especially in a time when we believe God has blessed us as a very resourced church with the tools to gather online and be all together at the same time. Fourthly, this is also a stewardship decision for us. We've reviewed the legislation around what it'll take to see us gathering in our venues, the ones we can use at this time, and we don't believe that it's going to be wise stewardship for us to use a large portion of our staff and volunteer muscle to be cleaning and sanitizing and marshalling and regulating matters so that a very small number of our people can meet face-to-face at a distance with masks on and no coffee. That doesn't even sound like a common ground gathering to us, right? We do love the fact that the government has recognized us as essential at this time, and we want to look at how we can use that muscle, volunteer and staff muscle, to serve our city and its many needs. And each of the congregations across the city are coming up with what their version of serving the city looks like at this time. A fifth and last reason is that with many common grounders personally vulnerable, and with many frontline workers and medical staff in our community, we believe that it's also still both wise and kind for us to do everything we can to lighten their burden and concern by not gathering and not participating in seeing a rapid increase in infections, when the hospitals are already full and already struggling to handle the load. We aren't being led out of fear in this moment. We truly believe we want to be led by wisdom and kindness and what that looks like for our people. So again, let me say, this is not our ideal, but we are committed to making the most of gathering as the church online over the next 3 months and edifying the body, even as we gather in that different way. Let me touch on 3 other matters, a bit broader than our Sunday gatherings, real quick. The first is life groups. We want to encourage our life groups to also continue online. Good for you to know that the current legislation states that you are not allowed to meet as life groups in homes. And so we want to encourage everybody online to continue gathering and until the legislation changes in that regard. And also maybe a little coaching moment here for us. When it comes to other ways of seeing people in our community, we've heard of life groups that are expressing a desire to maybe go and exercise as a group together or picnic in the park. And we just believe that it's worth warning against certain activities until the proper permissions are granted. Let's do our part to participate and represent Jesus and choose to put others first above our personal desires at this time. A second area to touch on is pastoral care. We do know that many of our people are hurting at this time, and we love that level 3 does classify pastors as essential workers who can move towards the people who are most in need of that. But we still want to exercise our discretion. We believe that pastoring online through Zoom and phone calls and things like that is showing much fruit currently. So while it is permissible, we're still going to exercise wisdom in how we do that for the people who need it most. Lastly, let me say, when it comes to looking to the future, we've just got to recognize that things are moving so fast and changing all the time. And we don't know really what anticipation we have for regulations and things in months to come. So we've got a sub-team that's working on it. They're going to be trying to understand all the logistics and medical considerations around what it would look like for us to kind of start regathering in the months to come. But for now, we just feel like it's worth holding off completely. And then we can kind of pick up that communication in August when we're looking to re-engage. So let me close this and bring this into land with a key reminder to us today as the church. And that is that as the church, we have not been closed, and we cannot be closed. We are very much alive and well. We are God's people, staying connected online, staying active in discipleship and followership of Jesus. And we're in community. And hopefully we even, not just in community, but using this once in a lifetime missional opportunity to serve our great city at this time. So let's be that kind of people. And yes, once again, let me say, this isn't our ideal. This isn't our desire. But we know that common grounders around the city have shown themselves wise, kind, and mature in these matters to date. And so we want to trust that we will all continue in that manner as the season seems to stretch out a little bit longer. Please do feel free to chat to us as leaders if you have any questions or concerns or encouragements for us. And thank you so much again for your participation in these unique matters and for walking this road that none of us have ever walked, but walking it together. Ongoing strength and grace to all of you from our household to yours. Cheers, everyone.